adapt Pride and Prejudice for the screen, there are some must-haves. Take my advice. I've done it a few times. You need a Lizzie with fine peepers, a troupe of Regency dancers, a Reverend Collins who sets your teeth on edge. Some jaw-dropping historic homes probably funded by plantations. A lot of bonnets. For this production, I personally sorted it all. I'm technically third assistant director, but I'm filling in gaps. I dug up stately homes no one had ever heard of. Our Pemberley is a pile in Northern Ireland, bombed out by the IRA. Our Longbourn are Wetherspoons. I reached out to the most annoying guy I know, Edwin, my local librarian, and engaged him as Collins. At great personal expense because it means seeing him every day. I'd also stolen a wardrobe of Empire waist dresses and push-up bras from a production company I'd worked with last Pride and Prejudice season. Arrived every morning, saggy-boobed, and went home with tits up to my neck. But none of that matters without a Darcy. He's the throbbing, sour-faced heart of the whole thing. The man who makes you want to drop your drawers and leave Hertfordshire forever. He's a non-negotiable. Which is what I told the police. It's a truth universally acknowledged, I said. We did have a Darcy at one point, and we'd been damn lucky to find him. Britain's supply of RADA grads and Etonians exhausted, I'd sourced him from Hinge. Swiping through thousands of floppy-haired types, searching for angsty broodiness, cheekbones that would look great with sideburns. I sat in dark pubs with oblivious auditionees, testing their sullenness, their willingness to decamp for months to an overlooked stately home near Sunderland. I sipped my Prosecco and probed. Did you do English literature at university? Have you ever made an unexpected proposal of marriage? Dylan had done both. The gobsmacked woman was actually his English lecturer. I took him home to see how he looked in a wet shirt. Then he stopped returning my DMs. It turned out he'd signed onto a Greco-Roman take on the novel, filming in Mediterranean Dorset, with a personal trainer to hone his toga-exposed abs. How could we compete with our gritty Ken Loachian study of the Longbourn Help? We were shooting the Netherfield ball in 2 days, and we were down a romantic lead. Fortunately, our Wickham had an angsty cousin. This dude hasn't spoken at a family gathering since 2013. He promised. I shot Cuz a text. We needed something to stand out from the 13 other adaptations of Pride and Prejudice scheduled for 2030. But more than that, we needed a Darcy. It didn't used to be like this. This Austen monomania, this hysteria for Lizzie and Darcy on screen. Okay, it was a little like this. But amidst the endless retreads of P&P and Emma, you'd occasionally get something else. A Sense and Sensibility. In the 90s, someone even did Mansfield Park. Although the heroine is named Fanny, and she gets off with the first cousin. There were Bronte adaptations. I used to complain about those shoots, but now I'd take consumption on a windswept moor over a parlour any day. I worked on Dickens rehashings, even a rogue Thomas Hardy. Once I did a show where the cast wore modern underwear, and not just due to budget constraints. That was before Trump slapped tariffs on film imports to the US, crushing the British period drama industry under his Italian leather brogues. You'd think he'd like our visions of rigid class hierarchy, where the poor are seen, tidying away croquet balls, ladling punch, but never heard. But heaving bosoms and sexless love were the greatest soft power we'd had since the Queen died. Imagine thousands of drama school trained actors flooding job centres, all telling convincing tales of woe. Some guys hadn't taken off breeches in 5 or 6 years. Were they going to start working at B&Q? So the government bailed us out. The Pence and Sensibility Bill committed to directly funding period dramas, but, ever cautious, the state stuck with the old favourites, the crowd pleasers. And we were stuck with Pride and Prejudice. The Mummy covered about 10 P&P adaptations annually. People did really creative things at the start. Olivia Colman won another Oscar for a film focused on Mrs. Bennet. An unflinching look at the menopause. Sexy Darcy too, the reviews said. There was a hip-opera version, chasing the Hamilton craze. So I returned to my parsonage, puffed with pride, your humble servant, with Lady Catherine as my guide. Call me absurd, but history will see that Colin's exactly what a husband should be. Then Britain went bananas for Homicide and Prejudice. A procedural in which D.S. Liz Bennet and functional alcoholic DCI Bill Darcy investigate the murder of Reverend Collins. A real head scratcher because everyone who met that twat had a motive. Liz also has a dark family secret, namely that her mum and sisters suck. But lately, the creative wellspring has run dry, and the adaptations have got worse. Pride and Prejudice ripped off 50 Shades of Grey. Played and Prejudice gave it a Scots train spotting twist, and the less said about the mime version, the better. The biblical flood of P&P created its own problems. Within 3 years, few credible actors hadn't tried their hands at Darcy or Bingley, and we had to turn to Amdram heartthrobs and Love Island alumni. There also weren't enough Regency dresses or enviable estates to go round and multiple simultaneous productions, which caused chaos on Rightmove. My 6th production, we were forced into guerrilla filming at the Downton Abbey pile. Look carefully in the Netherfield ball scene and you can see security breaking up the quadrille. So, our Darcy deficit wasn't unprecedented. Up and down the country, casting directors were daydreaming of a glowering hunk, scouring dating apps and prisons for him. By the time I got in touch with Wickham's cousin, he'd been snapped up by Pride and Prejudice, a great British bake-off crossover. And with that calibre of catering services, we couldn't lure him away. Tea, 24 hours until the Netherfield ball, and I was tense as Kitty Bennet with nothing to wear but a hand-me-down gown. Librarian Edwin found me in my trailer watching the 1995 miniseries again. It's the definitive adaptation, the one that sold millions of books and likely as many 90s vibrators with wall plugs. And it's probably the reason we're in this predicament. I know it by heart. Jennifer Ely's immovable wig, Darcy's sheep dip, 50 adaptations of Pride and Prejudice in the last 4 years, and no one's done it better than Colin Firth. Not Derek Jacobi last year, not Tommy Fury, not even Dame Judi Dench, and she can play anything. Why are you bothering to make this thing again? Edwin asked. God, it's so annoying, always voicing what's running through your head but you can't confront. Ask Google if Colin Firth has a son, I ordered. We discovered he has 3. But somehow the 19th century sex appeal got lost in the breeding. Must be recessive. Why don't you just cast what's-his-fate? Colin Firth, Edwin said. No way! He's over Darcy, I said. Got himself killed off in the last Bridget Jones movie and everything. But Edwin had already located Firth's address. A bachelor pad in Chiswick, bought after his divorce from an Italian. Very Wickham characteristics, which is a testament to Firth's acting prowess. Edwin plugged the postcode into Google Maps, found a route, only 5 hours down the M1 from Sunderland. We stared at each other, but he was the one who said it out loud. At least that's what I told the police. Edwin brought binoculars and a head of celery for the drive. Spent the whole 5 hours crunching open-mouthed, trying to identify the sad birds that cartwheeled off our windscreen, and in general showing no compassion for my poor nerves. I nearly left him behind at Watford Gap Services, but I dressed him in Mr. Collins' clerical robes for the caper, and it might look bad, at least to God, to speed away while he ran after the hire car. We arrived in Chiswick after dark and quickly located Firth's house. Edwin picked the lock. Apparently, there's a book on it in his library, which is probably something the council should rethink. It's exactly like the lock at your flat, he said cheerfully. But I was too mission-focused to ask questions and shoved him into the house. Firth's place was massive and airy. His own Pemberley brought with Hollywood money. Empty but for a black leather sofa and a dining table strewn with playing cards and wine bottles. His King's Speech Oscar stood on the mantel, a bra dangling from it. The dude is such a Wickham in real life. Hearing the drizzle of a shower, he crept down the hall, cracked open the bathroom door. There he was, standing in the spray, his famous head of hair now grey, wearing a billowy white shirt gone translucent. He told everyone he hated that scene. He was less surprised than I would have been, confronted with me and Norman Bates in his bathroom. He hoisted his hands wearily as he stepped onto the bath mat. Don't shoot. Why would we shoot? I said. Oh, I thought you were Americans like the last lot. Apparently, the Trump embargo on British films had driven quite a few Yanks mad as well. I spent 3 days in a Holiday Inn at Heathrow, trying to remember every bleeding line in Darcy's first proposal, Firth said. They hit me with electrical cables when I got it wrong. In vain I have struggled. He looked positively tortured as he recounted it, and all the Wickham in him melted away. Haven't lost it, have you, Firth? I murmured. Interested in reprising the role? Edwin said. Our film could use your gravitas and smoulder. Firth laughed bitterly, as if I'd played anyone but Darcy for the last 30 years. Be more Darcy, they always say. I played gay. I played stuttering. I played a Nazi. And Darcy was all the directors wanted. Darcy, Darcy, fucking Darcy. Do you know any new accents other than posh twat? We shook our heads. Nobody does. On this Pride and Prejudice revival, he shuddered. I've been turning down the part every week since it started. An entire new generation of British actors has been cursed. There's nothing but Darcy for everyone. You almost sympathised with him. He's that good an actor. Firth rejected our proposal. As is the usual manner of elegant actors, Edwin said, A true Mr. Collins, he was undeterred. We'd brought rope left over from Tide and Prejudice, and knocked Colin Firth out with his own Oscar. After that, he was surprisingly easy to get into the hire car. Edwin had the foresight to lay down towels so Firth's dripping white shirt didn't cost us our deposit. There we were, me and fake cleric speeding up the M1 with our perfect Darcy struggling against his bindings in the back seat. So intent on making the 5 a.m. call time for the day's filming that I didn't pay attention to the speedometer or the flashing lights behind us. Which is how Edwin and I landed in jail, awaiting trial on charges of kidnapping and false imprisonment of Colin Firth. Our P&P production collapsed, and honestly, the public was probably relieved, as they had 13 others to slog through that year. Recently, Edwin has been writing to me from Wormwood Scrubs. 12-page ramblings on bird watching and his childhood. They're tedious, but I find myself rereading them again and again. What else am I going to do? Read Pride and Prejudice?
Thank you very much, Claire. And Lauren, who is also here. That is the end of our Austenian night. We hope you have found it agreeable. And we're doing another one, not another Austen one, although that would be great. Our next one is Haunted and Hunted, our Halloween season. So it just remains for me to thank you, the awesome audience, and our amazing actors and our adorable authors for their time and talent, and ask you to put your hands together one more time.